So apparently my husband thought our fancy dinner downtown was actually open mic night at the Humiliate Your Wife comedy club. Picture this, me, Carlos, husband of 5 years, professional jackass, and his 2 college buddies, Alex and Becky. The vibe is loud, drunk, and cheerful, until Alex innocently asks how Carlos and I met. Cute question, right? Romantic flashback incoming. Wrong. Carlos, already 3 whiskeys deep, decides this is the perfect time to announce that I basically begged him to date me. He said it with the same energy as someone explaining how they ended up with a free couch off Craigslist. Alex and Becky laughed nervously, like people who just realized they're trapped on a sinking ship but don't want to offend the captain. Then Carlos kept going. According to him, I'm desperate, average, and lucky he was bored enough to say yes. He even tossed in a little, honestly, I'm only still with her because I don't have time to train someone hotter. At this point, I'm gripping my wine glass so hard I'm 90% sure I gave it trauma. But oh, it gets better. He accused me of snooping on his phone. Newsflash, I've never touched that crusty iPhone because if it dies, so does his whole personality. And then, as the grand finale, he announced that the real reason he married me was because, and I quote, no one else wants her. I'm doing her a favor. Reader, something in me snapped. 5 years of marriage, obliterated in one Taco Bell-level comedy routine. So I did what any self-respecting, desperate, average wife would do, dumped an entire Coke on his smug little head. Sticky, fizzy justice rained down his face like the wrath of PepsiCo itself. Then I walked out, purse in hand, while Alex whispered, holy shit, like he'd just seen the live taping of my villain origin story. Later that night, Carlos decided the real tragedy wasn't that he humiliated his wife in public, but that I embarrassed him. His texts, you owe me an apology. You ruined my night. Alex and Becky think you're crazy. Zero remorse. Zero accountability. Just 100% uncut narcissism. So now I'm sitting at my parents' place at 32 years old, smelling faintly of coke, wondering how my life turned into a rejected pilot episode for Real Housewives of Divorce Court. So apparently my marriage has turned into a crossover event between Jerry Springer and Cops, and I didn't even get to pick my character. After Cokegate, I ran to my parents' house like a raccoon fleeing from a trash fire. My mom immediately went into full caretaker mode, offering me coffee, blankets, toast every 5 minutes like I'd just returned from war. My dad, on the other hand, just sat in his chair looking like Clint Eastwood auditioning for Dad about to commit a felony. When I told him everything Carlos said, he clenched his jaw so tight I'm pretty sure I heard enamel crack. 5 minutes later, I hear the garage door. He just left. Didn't say a word. Where'd he go? No idea. Honestly, I didn't ask because plausible deniability is important when your dad might be out burying your soon-to-be ex in the Home Depot parking lot. Meanwhile, Becky, yes, the same Becky who ignored me while Carlos roasted me alive last night, suddenly finds her moral compass. She sends me a text, hey, are you okay? Alex says Carlos is freaking out. Wow, thanks girl. Nothing says allyship like waiting until the credits roll to ask if the final girl survived. She follows up with, Carlos is telling everyone you were drunk, that you embarrassed yourself, and he tried to calm you down. Which is hilarious, because I was literally drinking a Coke. No rum, no vodka, just diabetes in a glass. Carlos, however, had 3 whiskeys and was auditioning for America's Next Top Narcissist. So yeah, I wasn't about to let him run his crazy wife PR campaign unchecked. I went full petty mode, posted a pic of my empty wine glass with the caption, sometimes you realize you were the only sober person in the room. 10 minutes later, I had DMs from his friends, his cousin, even people who usually don't like me. What happened? Are you okay? Receipts collected. Screenshots saved. Ready for war. Then my dad comes home. Silent. Makes a sandwich. No explanation. 5 minutes later, knock on the door. Of course it's Carlos, still sticky from the coke bath, looking like a raccoon who lost a fight with a soda machine. He barges in demanding an apology in front of my parents, ranting about how I humiliated him. Sir, you did that when you opened your mouth, not when I opened my coke. My dad stands up, and suddenly it's a WWE smackdown in the kitchen. Carlos tries to get in my face, my dad blocks him. Carlos grabs my dad's arm, my dad shoves him back into the counter. Mom is crying, I'm debating whether to throw my coffee at him or just the mug itself. Carlos finally storms out, yelling like he's auditioning for Real Housewives of Toxic Masculinity. I'm shaking, my phone is buzzing non-stop, Alex texting, dude what happened? Becky asking, did he really come to your parents' house? Like yes, girl, your friend just tried to fight my dad over a kitchen island. Go scroll Instagram some more. That's when I snapped. I wasn't going to let him spin this. I typed up one message, just the facts. Word for word what he said at dinner, plus the kitchen showdown. Sent it to every group chat, every cousin, even his mom, who hates me anyway, so what's the risk? Then I blocked Carlos. If he wants to be the villain, fine. But I'm going to be the villain's worst nightmare, the one who tells the truth with receipts. Fast forward, I'm camping at my parents', living off coffee and toast, ignoring Carlos's calls. He starts calling my mom, ranting about how I'm ruining his life. My dad answers FaceTime and just points the phone at the ceiling fan while Carlos screams into the void. Peak comedy. But I get restless. I can't sit in my childhood pajamas forever. So I grab my dad's car and go back to our apartment to collect my stuff. Carlos is gone. His jacket, shoes, and PS5 are missing, but he's left me a sticky note on his mug handle that says, "You owe me." That's it. Bro left me a ransom note on a coffee cup. I almost laughed, but then I saw he'd taken the TV too. Congratulations, Carlos, enjoy watching Netflix on your phone like a caveman. I'm packing my things when I hear footsteps on the stairs. Guess who? Carlos, back for round 2. He puffs up like a cartoon bull, blocks the doorway, and starts screaming that I'm stealing his stuff. Yes, my clothes and my laptop, totally his. He reeks of whiskey. It's not even noon. He keeps saying if I leave now, he'll tell everyone I abandoned him and took his things. At that point, I'm just standing there holding my plant like a weapon, thinking, please give me a reason. So apparently I've unlocked the bonus boss level of divorce, where your soon-to-be ex transforms into a one-man misinformation campaign while you just try to drink coffee in peace. Let me set the scene. I go back to the apartment to grab my stuff. Carlos blocks the door like he's the final boss in a video game nobody asked to play. I shove past, he grabs my arm, and I threaten to call his mom. Not the cops, not a lawyer, his mom. And guess what? It worked. Man dropped me like a hot potato because even he knows she's scarier than the entire legal system. Childish? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. I get back to my parents' place, trying to keep my hands from shaking. My mom's outside casually hosing down the patio like she isn't married to a man who just went 3 rounds with my husband in the kitchen. My dad's inside doing a crossword, which I've learned is his version of saying, "Glad you're alive, kid, but I'm only stepping in if someone ends up in handcuffs." That night, Alex calls. He sounds like he's reporting a hostage situation. Apparently, Carlos is telling anyone who will listen that I attacked him, stole the TV, and went feral at the apartment. Plot twist, he stole the TV. But sure, January. I laugh out loud, which freaks Alex out because I guess laughter isn't the expected response to libel. He says Becky doesn't buy Carlos's crap, but some of their friends are taking sides. Translation: Carlos is running auditions for Who Wants to Be a Flying Monkey? And because Carlos can't survive a single second without attention, he goes nuclear on social media. We're talking vague Facebook posts like, "Sometimes the people you trust the most stab you in the back," paired with a photo of his coke-soaked shirt. Sir, that is not evidence of domestic violence, that is evidence that you lost a fight with a soda fountain. Then his mom calls me, full banshee mode, accusing me of destroying her family. Honestly, I almost admired the commitment to the narrative. I hung up, because I've learned you can't argue with someone whose ringtone is probably a church organ. But Carlos doesn't stop there. He shows up at my parents' house again. This time, he skips the knocking part and goes straight to, "I live here now" energy. He gets in my dad's face, shoving him, screaming, red as a boiled lobster. My dad finally has enough and punches him in the chest. Not hard, just enough to send the message, "Get out of my kitchen before I make you a permanent part of the backsplash." My mom threatens to call the cops. Carlos storms off like a toddler denied candy. Then comes phase 2, he starts messaging everyone I've ever known. Friends, co-workers, relatives I haven't talked to since the Obama administration. Suddenly, my aunt who ignores me every Christmas is texting my mom to ask if I'm okay. Like, "Thanks Karen, but where was this energy when I was unemployed in 2019? I ignore it all, but I'm done playing defense. So, I bring my dad with me, raid the apartment, and reclaim everything that's mine. Good towels. Mine. Mugs I actually like. Mine. Plant I kept alive longer than the marriage. Definitely mine. I boxed up all of Carlos's crap, hoodies, socks, his entire tragic hat collection, and dumped it on his mom's porch like a toxic Amazon delivery. Cue meltdown. He starts calling from random numbers, messaging me on every platform. Snapchat, Messenger, even LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn. Imagine getting a message request from your abusive husband while you're just trying to update your resume. Blocked. 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 At this point, Becky messages me with the newsflash that Carlos is telling everyone I trashed the apartment and stole from him. I hit her with a thumbs up emoji because I am fresh out of energy. But then she drops the real bomb: Carlos is planning something. She doesn't know what, but he's paranoid and ranting about exposing the truth. That's when I go nuclear. I gather every receipt. Texts, DMs, group chat screenshots, the whole archive of his greatest hits of verbal abuse. Then I drop the truth bomb, one massive group message to his friends, cousins, even his mom. No embellishments, no spin. Just his words, verbatim. And I let everyone know, I have proof. The fallout? Immediate. Like, drop a Mentos in Diet Coke, immediate. His friends start messaging me, some apologizing, some trying to both sides it, some just quietly reading in the background with popcorn. His mom calls my mom screaming about family shame. Lady, your son is the family shame. Alex sends me a string of awkward, "I didn't know it was this bad, I believe you" texts. Even my cousin crawls out of the woodwork to ask if I'm okay. I turn my phone off and go for a walk. When I get back, my dad's in the kitchen looking like he's seconds away from breaking a chair WWE style. He asks if I'm done with all this. I shrug. My mom hugs me and says she's proud, which just makes me want to cry into the stupid mug I stole back. And that's where I'm at now. Carlos has finally learned that when you try to torch someone else's reputation, sometimes you just light yourself on fire. He wanted a villain. Congratulations. He got one. And this villain keeps receipts. By this point, Becky had downgraded from ride or die friend to goes to occasionally texts you, hope you are okay, like a Target cashier asking if you found everything today. Spoiler, I did not find everything today. Carlos, though. Oh, Carlos. If stubbornness were an Olympic sport, this man would have medaled. He went full telemarketer mode, texts, calls, emails, burner phones, probably smoke signals if he could have figured out how fire works. At one point, my cousin literally read his handwritten note out loud at dinner like it was slam poetry, then threw it in the trash. The note wasn't even an apology, just another "everyone's against me" rant. Like, bro, you're not being persecuted. You're just unbearable. Here's the thing about Carlos, it's not me, it's control. He hates losing it more than he hates off-brand soda. He'd rather torch the entire neighborhood than admit he's not in charge. And I wasted way too long trying to figure him out when the answer is basically, he's a toddler with Wi-Fi. The next few days turned into Jerry Springer Live at my parents' house. Random people showing up, calling, texting, all wanting the real story. My mom did her best to juggle pride and mortification. My dad just kept muttering, "Mind your damn business," and hiding in his crossword. Meanwhile, I was lying on the guest bed inhaling cold pizza and scrolling Instagram like I was training for the doom-scrolling Olympics. Every notification was a gamble, meme about messy breakups or Carlos's mom threatening me with eternal damnation. Carlos leveled up to lurking outside in his car like a bad detective in a B-movie. My dad finally answered the door one night and the two of them just stood there, staring at each other like rival lions on National Geographic. Carlos left screeching his tires like he thought it would count as a power move. Spoiler, it didn't. Then he started sending emissaries. His mom called mine so much that her number basically got put in jail, aka, a drawer. He even sent a buddy to my parents' house with donuts as a peace offering. The guy shuffled his feet like a kid caught stealing candy and said, "Maybe you could just talk to him one last time." I said, "Sure. He can talk to my lawyer." The guy dropped the donuts like they were radioactive and bolted. Honestly, best donuts I ever ate. Meanwhile, I got my own place. Small, quiet, boring. Exactly what I needed. My mom stocked me with mismatched dishes, my dad fixed my door, and I painted the walls just to prove to myself I was allowed to. Suddenly I was sleeping again, laughing at dumb TikToks, eating food that wasn't passive-aggressive takeout for two. Every buzz of my phone still made my stomach flip, but at least it was my phone in my apartment. Of course, the universe decided to spice things up with my cousin's wedding. Guess who else was invited? Yup. Carlos and his personal cheerleader, Momzilla. I showed up in a dress, hair done, makeup sharp enough to cut him if he looked at me wrong. He circled all night like a vulture, cornered me by the bathrooms, tried his same old "you're ruining my life" monologue. When he grabbed my arm, I told him I'd scream louder than a toddler denied McNuggets. He backed off, muttering. My mom swooped in like a Secret Service agent and walked me away. Later, he blew up. Started screaming at me across the room. Music stopped, people gasped, my dad stood up like he was about to deliver Old Testament justice. My cousin, the groom, finally frog-marched Carlos out the door. Slam. End scene. The DJ restarted the music, and everyone went back to pretending like nothing happened, except my aunt who looked like she was going to commit a homicide via salad fork. The next day, Carlos posted a manifesto online. Pages of nonsense about betrayal, jealousy, loyalty, blah blah blah. He tagged me, my mom, my cousin, probably the family dog. Group chats went nuts. Some people unfollowed him, some argued, some just screenshotted with laughing emojis. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. At that point, Carlos was just screaming into the void, and the void was laughing back. The divorce dragged, of course. Carlos tried to fight over a blender, a couch, and camping gear we never used because he didn't want to give me the satisfaction. He even demanded I cover his moving costs, which was adorable. My mom screenshot everything, my dad played bouncer whenever Carlos tried to get near me, and eventually, papers signed, keys handed over, done. Now Carlos lives across town, posting sad boy quotes and selfies with new friends who always look like they're regretting every life choice. I water my plant, go to work, binge trash TV, and remember how to laugh without it feeling like rebellion. If you're expecting a Disney ending, sorry. I don't have a new soulmate or a glowing aura of zen. I'm just free. And honestly, that's enough. So yeah. Carlos got his big dramatic fight. He got his audience. But the one thing he couldn't keep was me. And that, my friends, is what we call poetic justice served cold, with leftover wedding cake.